Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So today I'm still in New Jersey. This time we are in Chatham and we're going to check out one of my friend Dave's favourite breweries. So the place behind me is Twin Elephant. These guys seem to do quite a variety of different styles, but they are one of the best rated breweries in New Jersey apparently, so this should be quite interesting. We'll do as we always do then, we'll go in, we'll have a little look around, we'll try some of the beers and we'll see how we get on. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I've been enjoying filming these out and about videos for you in the US this time, so yeah, let's crack on and see what we have. Catch you in a second. Alright guys, so yeah, this is the back of the brewery. So when you come into the place, it's quite interesting to get into this. So there you can see the Twin Elephant symbol up there, which is quite nice. I'm not sure exactly what it's meant to be honest with you. I'll need to ask them inside. But yeah, you can see here the brewery's just inside there. They've obviously got all their spent malt grains coming out. But yeah, they've got a fermenter, I think, waiting to go into the brewery. A nice basketball hoop for you to try when you've had a few beers. But the entrance is this little thing here, and there's the opening times for you as well. So it seems to be a Wednesday to Sunday affair actually. Yeah. So when you walk through here, you'll find the entrance once we get past the cooling fans, of course. But they've got this lovely little place you can sit around the side of the brewery. So yeah, you walk through here, the brewery and the tap room's just up there. We've got Dave and Nina's. Hello. Hello. What's up? What's up? So yeah, you head forward through here. You've got the tap room entrance just up here on the right, and it seems to be quite popular. There's quite a lot of stuff going on. So you can see nice wooden benches over here. You've got the Twin Elephant symbol over here, which looks great. You can see if you come round here, I think this is the entrance to the actual brewery, but you can see they've got a bunch of their labels on the door, which are really quite cool. Just let you have a little look at those. And then yeah, the bar is over here, and there's the tap list. So we'll have a little look at that in a minute, because I do need to get my next beer. But yeah, they have, there's about 10 beers on tap actually, which is good. But yeah, a few things in the fridge and stuff as well. But that's a little look at Twin Elephant Brewing. So yeah, it's time to order something else. Let's do this. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Twin Elephant in Chatham. So yeah, the first beer that we're going to have a look at is one that just caught my eye because it's a style that you don't come across all that often back home. So yeah, this one is the Spindle, 5.8% ABV. It's an American blonde ale, and it has Amarillo from the US and Wakatu from New Zealand in it. So yeah, Amarillo is a hop we know quite well, one of my favourite American hops. 12% alpha acid usually, nice big kind of oily orangey character. Wakatu, as I said, is from New Zealand, about 6.5–7% alpha acid normally. Good little bit of lime, sometimes very slightly tropical, but it's also quite known for its floral and slightly earthy characteristics as well. But yeah, I went for a half with this one. You can see that the beer's poured. When it poured, it came out with a bit over a half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. You can see that this beer is unfiltered. It looks a little bit like a New England Pale Ale or IPA or something like that, but lovely kind of bright yellow sort of mango juice colour, this one. So again, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour too. But yeah, you don't have to care about that so much when it comes to the American blonde style. Not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. A few big bubbles sticking toward the bottom of the glass and a few smaller ones making their way up toward the top of the beer. But yeah, it looks pretty nice, this one. So let's have a wee look at the aroma then and see what we're going to get from this. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice. It smells like, I mean, obviously the American Blonde for me is a little bit more, it's always just a little bit more kind of soft and bready than the New England IPAs and stuff like this, and the West Coast IPAs obviously have quite a little bit more brown sugar in them. But yeah, this just kind of caught my eye because of the hops and I say the American Blonde style, because we don't see these very often back in Mother Scotland or in Sweden. So yeah, but this does smell really quite nice. The backbone of the beer then, you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. A little touch of woodiness and a little bit of cracker as well in the base. But then you can smell the barley malt in this, it smells great. You've got that lovely kind of soft little bit of wholemeal brown bread, softer white bread in there as well. There is a little touch of like a McVitie's digestive biscuity sweetness in there. But yeah, aroma-wise, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really nice on the malty side of things. You do get a little bit of yeastiness out of this one. It is more like a kind of dense and sweet bready character. As I've said in many of these out and about videos that I've made while I've been here in the US so far, the American malts, the bready character you get from these is usually quite a little bit sweeter than what we get in Europe from the German crystals and stuff like this. So yeah, the bready character in this one is quite distinctive, and you can tell as well from the wetness of the malt base in this one just how kind of fresh this beer is. I mean, drinking it at source at the brewery, so that's what you'd expect. But yeah, aroma-wise, this is really pretty nice actually. Yeah, other than that, I don't know if we've got too much to say about the malty and yeasty side of the beer, but on the hoppy side of things, it's kind of what you'd expect. You've got a nice little touch of earthiness in there, which I think in this case is going to come from the Wakatu. You've also got a nice little touch of herbal character, but quite a bright floral aromaticity. Also a good little bit of zesty grassiness in there, which again I think is going to come from the Wakatu. But yeah, the green component on this one, because it's a blonde ale rather than an IPA, it is a little bit less pronounced. I think that's definitely fair to say. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, again, it's kind of what you'd expect if you know these hops. You've got a little touch of like an apricot-y or papaya type base to it, which I think is going to come from Wakatu. But then you get the lovely big kind of oily, juicy, orangey characters from the Amarillo. Amarillo for me is a very distinctive, oily, zesty orange, and yeah, that goes together really nicely. But then yeah, you've got the big limey characteristics from the Wakatu in there as well. It's a really nice smelling beer, this one. I think this is going to be a nice, light, easy place to start. They did have a Pilsner on tap, which I was tempted to go for, but you know, I was just quite curious about the blonde ale because I don't get too many opportunities to try these. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. So this is the Spindle 5.8% American Blonde, Wakatu and Amarillo hops. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh, that's nice. This is interesting because this is just a really nice, smooth, drinkable beer, which is kind of what you want from the style, to be honest with you. The blonde ales and golden ales are quite a difficult style to get right. But if you get them, and you know, if you do make these, you want them just to be smooth, drinkable, and just to be a little bit fruity in the end. And this one, I think, is nice. I'll need to figure out what style exactly this brewery is best known for. But this is the one that kind of caught my eye as the one to start with. So I'll chat to the guys inside and see what's going on. But yeah, this is really nice actually, so solid place to start for me, and we're drinking, as I say, this is about, what, 250, 300 millilitres, something like that. It's a nice size for me as well for doing these tastings. So yeah, let's break this beer down then and describe it a bit more in depth for you. So yeah, very simple, just nice beer, this one. The backbone of this beer, middle third of your palate, you've got that lovely, smooth, fresh, white bready bread crust in there. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, there's a teeny little hint of woodiness in there, a little bit of cracker as well. Then above that, you just get this lovely, soft, white bready character coming out this one. So yeah, lovely, very soft, white bready character sitting there. above the bread crust, and perhaps on the top of that you've got just a little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. In the dead centre of your palate you can feel there's a little circle there where you get a wee bit of a kind of concentration of sort of biscuity type flavours. But yeah, I think that goes together really nicely. Like this just concentrated little bit of biscuity character. Then as you move out toward the edges of that middle third of your palate, you get a little bit more of a kind of lighter biscuity note coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that that goes together in this beer I think is really quite nice actually. Lawndale should be very straightforward, but nicely done. This beer absolutely delivers on that. I like that. So, back third of the palate is quite similar to this, and as I've always said, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours but just a different intensity. So on the back third of your palate you can feel the bread crusty backbone is a little bit drier, because remember, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back on the palate, sweeter flavours come out further forward. So the bread crusty note that you get out of this beer is really nice. It's a little bit drier, bit of Jacob's cream cracker sitting on top of that. Then you have the white bready layer, which is a lot taller and a lot more airy, and then above everything else you're getting the yeasty notes out of the beer. So for me, the yeasty notes that you have in this one are a little bit more kind of, it's more like a kind of dense and slightly sweeter white bready character that you get in the yeast. It feels like it's wrapped a little bit in honeycomb or something like this, but you can definitely feel that the flavour on the back third of your palate is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. On the hoppy side of things then, green component of the beer, back corners of the palate you get a little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward you do get a little bit of herbal character. Again, I think these will be some of the flavours from Wakatu coming out. But yeah, as you move further forward you get more and more kind of floral aromaticity out of this one, which you can feel, and then round the front curve of your palate it's a little bit lighter and a wee bit more kind of grassy, I would say. So yeah, this is quite nice. Yeah, you get more and more wetness out of the green component with this one the further into the aftertaste that you go as well. So yeah, I really do like how this one goes together actually. It's nice in that sense. But let's look at the front third of your palate and the fruity side of the beer. So the backbone of that front third of your palate, you've got a lovely little bit of fresh white bready bread crust in there. On top of that you get a little bit of a wholemeal brown bready type character. White bread on top of that, and the wholemeal brown bread I'll say is quite sweet. Then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me, fruity side of this beer is pretty straight up and what you would expect of these hops. So for me, the fruity side of this beer, I'd say further back on that front third of your palate you get a little bit of a slightly apricot-y papaya type thing, but then as you move further forward, yeah, you get the big juicy orange from the Amarillo, a little bit zesty, and then you get a nice little bit of the kind of oily lime sitting on top of that. So yeah, the way it goes together in that sense is really nice. The little tropical at the back, then you get the oily orange from the Amarillo and the kind of juice. It's quite a juicy lime actually, it's not too sharp or whatever, but it's a nice kind of juicy lime you're getting from the Wakatu in this one. So yeah, I really like how that pieces together in this one. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the flavour of this. So let's have a wee look at the mouthfeel. So mouthfeel wise, this beer, it's quite, yeah, mouthfeel wise, I would say that this beer is kind of bottom end of mid-bodied, pushing toward right in the middle of the spectrum. Carbonation is very, very smooth. The beer does have an overall kind of smooth vibe to it. Feels a little bit kind of thicker than some of the other ones that I've had actually on this trip to the US so far. But yeah, in terms of IBU, I think this is going to be about 20-ish IBUs, maybe slightly more. It's, you know, the blonde ale is not a bitter style of beer, so 20-25 IBUs I think is about right for this one. The malt, as I said, it's a bit of dryness underneath, bit of smoothness in the middle, little touch of sweetness on top. Then you've got this lovely juicy fruity character which has a wee bit of zestiness to it. But yeah, this was really nice. So yeah, that is everything we need to say about this one. This was the Spindle, an American blonde at 5.8% ABV with Amarillo hops from here in the US and Wakatu hops from New Zealand. So yeah, really good stuff. Let's leave it at that. We'll go on and we'll find something else. I'll catch you guys in just a second. Alright guys, well let's have a little look at the tap list then here at Twin Elephant. So yeah, seems quite a good variety of different styles. So they've got the Osprey, 5.4% Belgian wit, the Nosh Strata, double dry hops, double IPA, 8.5, the Spindle, 5.8% blonde ale, which you just saw me review. The Chuck's Pills at 5% ABV, could be quite interesting. Number 5 is off just now. Pumpkin Pub Lager, yeah, not having that. Pumpkin ales are just not for me. But yeah, up here, the Lil Shimmy, yeah, which is a guava and pineapple fruited pale ale. Roast the Bone, an American double IPA. Number 9, Heaven is a Place on Earth, an American Hefeweizen. I've not had too many of those, specifically American Hefeweizens. That could be interesting. The Melody Bar, a triple IPA with Citra, could be interesting. The Gang Beats Bogs, a Kulsch, which should be quite nice. And then at number 12, they've got Chuck's Garage, which is an American session ale, Taste of Freedom. You know, since I'm in America, that one could be quite tempting. So yeah, nice little tap list here. 12 different beers, that's pretty good stuff. So let's have a wee think about what we're going to have for beer tasting number 2 then. Alright guys, well time for tasting number 2 then here at Twin Elephant. So beer number 2 is going to be a style that this brewery are really well known for. So the one that we're having a look at now is the Nosh Strata. It's a New England hazy, imperial double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. And apparently what they do with this beer is that they have a base recipe and they just play around with the hops. And it's kind of like a series actually. But yeah, this was one that was recommended to me by the guys behind the bar because it is one of their staple beers. And when I come to different countries, especially the States, I like trying the staple beers from the brewery at source. But yeah, it comes in at 8.5% ABV. Strata is a hop that we know quite well. American, 16% alpha acid. It's going to give you a little bit of gooseberry, but also quite a little bit of strawberry in my experience, and a nice big kind of floral character. But yeah, you can see this beer, in terms of its appearance, it's poured exactly as you would expect from the style. Lovely kind of pale sort of mango pineapple juice type colour. When it came out, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would have said cream coloured head. You can see the bubbles there, some medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, bubblier ones going further up. But this beer is, you know, hazy as fuck. This is haze for days, this one. So remember with these beers, the level of haze in the New England IPAs depends on the level of oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. Varies from brewery to brewery and recipe to recipe. It's not really to do with whether the beer is like a single, double, pale ale or whatever. It can really vary quite a lot actually. But yeah, I have to say this is one of the most opaque New England doubles that I've come across in quite some time actually. But yeah, it looks really lovely. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one, but I think it looks really, really nice. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, but other than that, not too much in the way of visible carbonation. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the appearance of this one. Let's have a little look at the aroma and see what this is all about. Oh yeah, that smells really, really nice. This is this is a beautiful smelling beer, this actually. Straight away, very creamy, very juicy New England IPA. So as I've said in many New England hazy reviews before, this style can lean a few different ways. You've got 6 things you should think about. The farmhousey yeasty character, the rye lean and grainy side of things, those are a bit more common in American brewed New Englands in my experience. But then you've also got wheaty, bitey character, barley malt bread, oaty creaminess, and also the sweeter side of things. This beer almost, to me, smells a bit like a milkshake IPA. Like I would not be surprised if there was a bit of lactose in this one, because it's very oaty leaning other than that, and a little bit sweet as well. Very creamy, juicy sort of thing. But then again, the Strata hop always gives you this impression because of the kind of strawberry characteristics that it has. So yeah. Aroma-wise, this is really very nice. The backbone of the beer, soft, fresh, white ready bread crust. On top of that, teeny little bit of cracker, but that's very, very minimal. Soft white bread, and then it's all about this big, juicy, creamy, oaty character. There is a tiny little bit of wheaty bitiness in the back of the nose, but as I say, mainly this beer is all about the, it really is all about the sort of just creamy oaty notes. It's not overly sweet either. I mean, there's a little bit of like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, but yeah, the malty character in this beer, is pretty damn special actually. I really like how this kind of goes together. It's really like it is very much like a kind of milkshake. New England double, this one I have to say. It gets a thumbs up from me. This is really nice. Yeah, awesome stuff actually. Lovely, lovely smell. On the hoppy side of things, it's kind of what you'd expect. As I've said with the IPAs before, you know, you can do 3 different types of hopping. You have early edition hopping, usually within the first hour of the wort boil. That's going to give you mainly bitterness and translate to a deep, dank aroma. Late edition hopping within the last half hour of the wort boil. That's going to give you a little bit of. It's going to give you a little bit of kind of like a very bright floral and grassy aroma, and also the same in the flavour. But it's going to give you a little touch of bitterness too. But then dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, that's all about the flavour and aroma, and it's going to give you a very bright, juicy, fruity character. So yeah, that's what you're getting out of this one. For me, good little bit of bright floral aromaticity, also some really nice wet, leafy, grassy characters. But then yeah, on the fruity side of things, this one for me, there's a little bit of an oily gooseberry underneath, but it's juicy strawberry all the way, and that is what you would expect of Strata. You do get little hints of like tropical fruit, like a little touch of like mango or apricot or something like that in there. But yeah, really big, big, juicy strawberry characters, which is typical of this hop. I think that covers everything we need to say about the aroma of this one, so let's do this. This one is the Nosh Strata, an 8.5% New England Hazy, Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. A beer from one of the staple series of Twin Elephant Brewing Company here in New Jersey. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Very creamy, very juicy, almost milkshake New England double. That's a lovely, lovely beer. Big thumbs up from me. If this is the stuff they're producing, I can see why these guys are really quite well regarded. Yeah, this would go down very, very well. Yeah. Very nice. Gives you everything you would want from the style. Yeah. So where do we start with this one then? Middle third of your palate. The backbone of the beer. You've got that lovely, fresh, white ready bread crust in there. A little bit further forward on that middle third of the palate, there is a wee touch of woodiness and a little bit of kind of dryness out of that. On top of that, you get a wee bit of a kind of crackery layer, which is really nice. Yeah, nice little bit of a kind of crackery layer out of this one, which is great. Then on top of that, you get all the bready characteristics. It feels quite layered actually. There does seem to be a little layer of a kind of sweeter wholemeal brown bread. Then you get the fluffy white bread, and you can feel on top of that you've got the wheaty character just densifying the beer out a little bit. You do actually get a little bit of wheaty bitiness out of this beer the further into the aftertaste you go, which I think is nice. It kind of diversifies the malt base. But yeah, above the wheaty layer you start to get all the oaty notes out of this one. And the oats for me, you can tell this is a very fresh keg actually. The oaty notes that you get out of this one are great. It's lovely and big and creamy in that middle third of your palate. Yeah, lovely big sort of creamy oaty character in the middle of your palate. Gets a little bit drier out toward the edges of your palate there as well. and then yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. In the middle, the dead centre of your palate, you get this lovely kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotchy sort of thing, and it gets a wee bit more biscuity the further out toward the edge of the palate that you go. So that's really, really nice as well. I do like how that pieces together. Yeah, that kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotchy sort of thing. A little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity character as well. And yeah, I think that covers the middle third of your palate. The back third of your palate is very similar, just the flavours at different intensities. So in the base, you've got a little bit of a kind of drier bread crusty note there. You do have a little touch of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker on top of that. The wholemeal brown bready layer is a little bit taller and more airy. The white bready character is a little bit taller and more airy. And you can feel some of the wheaty character, some of the drier, more bitey and spicy aspects of the wheaty side of this beer just pushing its way over the top of that, and that's quite nice. Above everything else though, you start to get the yeasty character. And yeah, the yeasty side of this beer for me is really nice as well. So you've got this very dense, sweet mix of white and brown bread in there, which goes together really nicely. So you get that dense white bready kind of doughy ball there. It's wrapped in a little bit of an almost like honeycomb type flavour, and then it's got a wee bit of like a woody, crackery sort of thing going on. So yeah, the way that goes together is really nice. You can definitely feel the back third of your palate. The flavour is taller, then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, I really like how that goes together, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. On the hoppy side of things then, yeah, hoppy side of this beer is quite nice too. In the back corners of the palate, you get a nice little touch of earthiness in there, but not too much. As you move further forward, it gets a little bit herbal, but then as you reach the front corners of your palate, it's very like wet and floral, I would say. It has got a little touch of spice to it, which is interesting, but round the front curve of your tongue, it's definitely lighter and more grassy. There's a wee bit of zestiness there, but the fruity character in this one, it definitely has a sort of cryo oil vibe to it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like Simcoe Cryo or something like that in here. But yeah, the green component in this beer is very wet and like leafy, and that makes me think, yeah, there's a bit of cryo oil. So yeah, this is quite interesting. I've got a little fly visiting me wanting some of the beer, but no, it's mine. But yeah, that covers the green component. Let's have a little look at the fruity side of the beer then, front third of your palate. Base of the front third of your palate is, of course, the bread crust, the wholemeal brown bread, the white bread on top of that. Then you get that nice juicy, kind of juicy, fruity bubble, that juicy oily bubble with the fruits kind of sitting on top of it. So yeah, it's really nice. The fruity side of this beer is lovely and oily and still juicy at the same time. So yeah, for me, at the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of like a kind of sharper guava type quality out of this one, and then as you move further forward, it's got a wee bit of like an apricot and papaya sort of thing. But then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's got a little bit more of like a kind of gooseberry in the base, maybe a little bit of melon or something. And that is something, yeah, you get this kind of gooseberry melon type note from Strata, but on top of that you get a bit more of the juicy strawberry. But the more you go into the aftertaste, it's more like a melony gooseberry note that lingers in this beer for me. But the aroma is certainly really strawberry-like. So that's quite an interesting thing about this one. This beer really shows off the two sides of Strata, the more gooseberry melon side and the strawberry side really quite nicely. But yeah, really nice beer this. It's a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, this is nice. On the fruity side of things then, for me, or I've said on the fruity side of things, on the mouthfeel side I should say, sorry, my bad. On the mouthfeel side of things, this beer is kind of top end to mid-bodied, bottom end to full-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth on this one. It's actually very creamy and sort of lactosey, almost milkshakey. New England IPA, this one, which is quite interesting. So yeah, really thick and very creamy and smooth mouthfeel. The fruity side of things, the IBU in this beer I think is probably a standard 30, maybe 40 at a push because it is a double, so you would put that little bit more bitterness in there to balance out the malts. So it could be 40 IBUs, and then yeah, you get a lovely kind of, as I say, the bready, the malty side of this one a little bit smoother, a little bit kind of more grainy and things underneath, smooth in the middle, a little bit sweet and creamy on top. Then you've got the fruity side of the beer, which is big and juicy. I really like how this one goes together, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, very creamy, very smooth, juicy New England double this. I think we can leave it at that for this one. So this was the Nosh Strata version, an 8.5% New England double IPA. Our second beer here at Twin Elephant Brewing Company in Chatham in New Jersey. I think we'll do one more and then we'll probably call it at that. So catch you guys in just a second with something else. So yeah guys, the other thing here at Twin Elephant is that you can buy some t-shirts. So you've got these three over here with the actual brewery symbol, which looks quite nice. But then yeah, you've got the skull, which is very like their Nosh IPA labels, but this is the one that really kind of caught my eye. There be monsters. I love pirates and things, so I thought this was quite funny. But yeah, a few t-shirts available here at Twin Elephant Brewing Company. There you go. Alright guys, well, time for our third and final tasting then here at Twin Elephant Brewing Company in Chatham, New Jersey. So, this is Dave.
Howdy friends.
Yeah. So Dave is probably my oldest American friend when I think about it. We've known each other since 2008.
About 15 years, yeah. I am a New Jersey native, a Cicerone beer server from the Chicago Beer Institute, so I'm more of a wine guy myself, but I know my way around beer, not so much as this guy, he's the expert, but really just happy to be a part of this today. It's a fun time.
He is equally as professional an alcoholic as me, but in a very in a different way. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, that's a fair way to say. So, this brewery that we're at, Twin Elephant, this is one of Dave's favourite New Jersey breweries. And basically I told him that when we were picking breweries to do, I wanted to do some of his favourite ones with him in the video. So, yeah, this is a beer you haven't tried before?
Correct, never.
Right, and as you'll know if you've watched the channel before, sometimes when I discover a new brewery, my beer choices are kind of like, I like the name of this one, I like this style, I like the artwork. That's just how it goes when you discover a new brewery sometimes. And in this video so far, we have done an American Blonde, we did a New England IPA, double IPA, which this brewery is famous for, and I thought it would be quite nice to finish with a sour beer, and this just immediately kind of caught my eye. So this one is called Tackleberry. It comes in at 6% ABV. They're calling it a heavily fruited sour ale with raspberries. I know Dave likes raspberries.
And sours.
And sour beers. Yeah. I love sour beers as well, especially smoothie sours and the old school lambics. But my family are quite big in police and military. My dad was a colonel in the police force in Scotland, superintendent, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I love Police Academy and Tackleberry. This just immediately caught my eye, and I thought this was a nice place to end. So yeah, 6% ABV. This one, we'll do a pour and we'll get this guy out. You know, sometimes this is just how it goes. You find a beer that you think is funny, you try it. That's that.
Yeah, and especially for like a late summer, early fall, I feel like a fruity sour is just a really nice way to kind of, you know, lead out the season.
Yeah.
It's not heavy, not light, a little funky, takes you on a trip, so.
Exactly, that was quite nice and even, I have to say.
Expert pour, James.
Yeah, there we go.
He's done 3,000 of these.
But yeah, this is nice. So this is not a tap beer, obviously, it's a can beer. So, yeah, but you can see the Twin Elephant symbol on this one. I'm really not sure. Do you know what the symbol is actually all about?
No clue.
No, not Scooby.
Does it even matter?
That's it. As long as the beer's good, that's the main thing, right? We'll put this over here. So, colour-wise, this beer is, as you would expect, a lovely kind of candy apple red, maybe, is a good way to describe this one. Dave's has a little bit more head on it, so you can see when we poured this beer, it has about a half finger of a frothy, kind of pink tinted cream head. There's a few kind of big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head. But yeah, obviously sour beers like this are dependent on the adjuncts for their colour, so if it's raspberries in there, the colour of this one is not really a surprise, to be quite honest with you. Nice and opaque. American beers don't tend to say what ingredients are in them, but I'm guessing when it's hazy like this, it'll be a mix of oats and wheat that'll be giving you the haziness in this one. But it is, it doesn't say whether it's a Berliner Weisse or whether it's a smoothie sour or exactly what, but I guess we can figure that out when we actually look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything about the appearance. Aroma time?
Sure.
So, first impressions.
Like hard candy.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me,
it's like almost like a watermelon.
Oh yeah, I mean,
right?
It's
like a watermelon juice bit to it.
Yeah, no, I get that underneath. For me, a lot of Scottish desserts are based on raspberries and strawberries. We're a very kind of berry country in that way. So that's the first thing that jumps out at me. And the thing that jumps out at me from this beer is that it's this is maybe, are raspberries big in New Jersey or not really?
We're more of a blueberry state, but raspberries are local to the Northeast and usually good.
So fairly local.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is what's striking me about this one is that New England raspberries, if we can call them that, are quite juicy. They're not quite as tart in their aroma as the Scottish ones. They're a bit more juicy and wet, I would say. But I see exactly what you're saying. Like the raspberries are the first thing that are going to jump out of the aroma at you. You get the sharpness in the beginning, and what Dave was saying about there being like a little bit of watermelon. I would say candied strawberry as well.
Yeah, I think the more you dig your nose in, the more you really do get like the kind of raspberry tartness that's supposed to hit you, but very much like on the periphery, the overtones are more of the watermelon strawberry that James is mentioning. For sure.
No, exactly. I mean, beyond that, I would say there is a little bit of like white bread underneath, very slight red crust, but it's mainly like a mix of white and brown bread. It's that typical kind of American barley malt type note you're getting in there. To me, it actually smells quite like a Berliner Weisse. It does smell more like a Berliner Weisse. That's the style that jumps out at me. It doesn't have the saltiness of the German Gose. It doesn't have the creaminess of the smoothie sour. It really is more like a Berliner Weisse than anything else.
Definitely not salty.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you get much hoppiness out of this?
Almost none.
Yeah, is it almost zero? I mean, there's a little bit of grassiness, a tiny little bit of floral character.
Yeah.
And when it comes to sour beers, modern sours especially, and modern takes on the Berliner Weisse like this, there is a debate amongst sour beer brewers whether there is a need to use hops, because when you add fruit as an adjunct, it's always going to suppress the bitter side of the beer. Whereas if you add them, they're going to give you a bit more complexity. So it's kind of a bit of a free-for-all in that sense. But
I'm almost getting like a strawberry daiquiri out of this in a way.
I can see that.
Yeah,
exactly. I can see that.
but like a mocktail version. Like it's not. It doesn't hit you as much as like a liquor-based cocktail, but it definitely does kind of hit you.
I can absolutely see that. Yeah. I actually get. I don't know how common this is in the States, but when I was younger, my mum used to put these little petit filou yogurts into my lunchbox. So it's like like a strawberry petit filou yogurt type thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, this obviously is not an American thing, but yeah, it has this kind of yogurty creaminess.
I can see
it's
that.
Very much like that.
At least on the nose, I suspect that will disappear once we taste it, but definitely on the nose, it's got
No, exactly. It's for me very juicy. It's very much like a Berliner Weisse, this one, that I've had, a modern take on the Berliner Weisse. Anything else you want to say about the aroma?
No.
No?
Nope.
So I think it's about time to taste this one. So yeah, this is the Taco Berry. Taco Berry! A 6%, is it 6%? Yeah, 6% sour ale with raspberries. Our last beer here at Twin Elephant in Chatham in New Jersey.
That's not over yet.
That's over, Slange. Here we go. That's lovely.
That's a sour bomb right there.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I don't find it that sour. For me, it's really juicy and
smoothie.
And my first impression is it has a bit more smoothie sour than the aroma might lead you to believe, but it's still more Berliner Weisse.
What I will say is, from a wine perspective, this has an acidity to it that is strong, right?
Yeah.
So wine, evaluating the complexity of wine tends to be a balance between tannins, acidity, and alcohol, right? So the first thing I notice about this is the acidity.
I mean, from my perspective, from being more beer orientated, I'm going to say straight away, this has got a lovely balance to it. You've got the lovely kind of sweetness, and you've got a little bit of a smoothie sour character to it, but it has still a little bit of that almost kettle sour quality, where it's not quite as like yogurty and creamy as you get from a smoothie sour.
Right.
But I think we can both agree that's a very, very damn good sour beer.
Yeah.
That's lovely. To be honest, this is one of the things that frustrates me a little bit in America, is that beers are only sold in 4-packs. I would love to take this away and do it with a fresh palate and do a proper sit-down review, because that is very good.
I got to tell you, they're letting the raspberries shine here, right? So a lot of sour ales that have raspberries added, you kind of get like a thinner, almost like a LaCroix quality from it, like flavor-wise. They're really letting this shine in terms of, this is like, it almost tastes like you're just drinking boozy raspberry juice.
Oh yeah, no,
like straight from the bottle, you know.
Yeah, it's like a raspberry daiquiri, I think. You said strawberry, raspberry daiquiri.
Right.
This is a good way to describe this. For me, a very thick Berliner Weisse with the juicy raspberries on top. It's a lovely beer, this one. Let's kind of break it down as I always like to do, though. So middle third of your palate, there's fresh white bread crust underneath. You do get a bit of dryness out of this beer into the aftertaste. There's a wee touch of cracker, but very minimal. Above that, you get like a sweet wholemeal brown bread, a fluffier but still wet white bread, maybe a bit of densifying wheat on top. But then you start to get, it wouldn't surprise me if this beer has a bit of oat in it, but if it does, not too much. The malt base is very like wet, fresh bready. And then in the middle of your palate you get a little bit of like there is a little touch of a lactose, and almost in the very dead centre of your tongue you get a little bit like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, and that's the alcohol.
Right.
That is the alcohol.
And this is a theme in all the reviews that I've seen James do over the last few days here in America, right? This has been the through line, is American beers tend to be a little bit wetter and a little bit sweeter because of the difference in malts.
It could also be the climate as well, to be honest. It's a lot warmer and more humid here.
Yeah,
And,
yes it is.
Yeah. No, and this is the thing. I love this when you go to different countries. Like, for example, you have the same thing in Slovenia. Slovenia is a wine country, so their beers have this really oily mouthfeel to them. So you notice little trends like this when you visit different countries. Beers are obviously tailored to different palates and so on. But yeah.
I think the interesting question is that variation conscious or unconscious? Right? Do you think that that's something that was intended, or do you think that that's sort of just like we're used to it so we don't notice it as much?
It's probably a case of if you've got home brewers becoming brewers, they think, most of the other brewers make it a little bit wetter, so we'll do the same. I think it evolves kind of unconsciously, but obviously a lot of the flavors, a flavor palette in a country will develop on the basis of the food. So, because for me, Indian food, for example, in the US tastes very different from Scottish Indian food or New Zealand or Japanese Indian food. You notice this, but the malt base in this is nice. As I say, for me, it's a bit wetter. The bread is a little bit sweeter, but the flavour profile is kind of what you'd expect for the style. This is very much a Berliner Weisse for me, I'd say.
Yeah.
Back third of your palate is very similar. Bread crust is a bit drier, brown bread is a bit taller and more airy, white bread's a bit more taller and airy. You get the wheat above that, then the yeasty notes. The yeast is like a really dense brown bready note, a little bit of almost like honeycomb sweetness around it. So definitely back third of your palate is taller, the flavour's taller. As you come into the middle third of your palate, it squeezes down. What do you think about the hoppiness in this beer?
again, I would say virtually, in my opinion, virtually non-existent. I'm really like where it really hits me the hardest is the tip of my tongue and the soft palate.
Yeah.
Right, the roof of my mouth are really getting bombarded with that welcome acidity.
Yeah.
And that's what sticks out to me. I would say the hops have been almost completely mitigated in this case.
Quite well. In that case, that's the point I like to make about sour beers. Do you think there are even hops in this beer?
Probably not. I don't know.
See, I actually think with this one there are.
Okay.
Because, and I've said this in many sour beer reviews before, you have this kind of circular argument about hops. In sour beers, yes, if you put in hops that are too young, they can take away from the sourness of the beer. If you add fruit into the beer as an adjunct, it's going to suppress the green of the hops. It's a circular argument. This beer, for me, it feels like it does have a bit of hop in it. Like, because you see, if you go to the middle of the sides of your palate, there's that little bit of floral note there. And then at the back corners of your palate, there's a little bit of earthiness. For me, that's the kind of giveaway that there is a bit of hop in this. So I think I'd be curious to know. I really would be curious to know. I think there is a bit of hop in this, but the raspberry, as Dave said, the raspberry is so forward in this, it suppresses a lot of the flavour you get. For me, at least, back corners of the palate, very slightly earthy, a little bit herbal, and as you move further forward, you get a little bit of a floral aromaticity.
To your point, I am getting like a honeysuckle back there.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. Round the front curve of the tongue, you do get a bit of lighter grassiness, but as you go into the aftertaste, the effect of the raspberry adjunct just pushes back against that and gives you this really wet, juicy raspberry character. I think there are hops in this, but I think they are really pushed back by the raspberry for sure. But I think it's a love that, as you say, it lets the raspberry shine. It really does. I think the front third of the palate's where we look now. Then, So fruity impact, the sour impact of the beer,
right,
and the malt of it. So the base of that front third of your palate for me, red crust, a little bit of sweet brown bread, slight touch of white bread. Then you've got the fruity notes sitting on top of that. What do you think about the impact that when you first take the beer in? What would you? Because you were talking about that in the very beginning.
It spreads out to the sides immediately. Is what I'm noticing.
Yeah.
It spreads out to the sides, and then it migrates towards the front. And so, it's a flavor that definitely gets pointier as time moves on.
Yeah.
Right. It starts out a little bit more subtle, right? You kind of get that floral on the sides. You get like the strawberry. You get the sort of like more well-balanced bits, and then at the end, it really coalesces like in the front center of my tongue with the acidity.
Yeah. See, it's quite interesting to hear Dave say this from the wine perspective, because as I've often said on the channel, for me, a good sour beer is one that can give you that impact like that, and then it can mellow out really nicely. So I always say, like, for me, behind the front curve, the very front tip of the tongue, you get the tartness, the tart raspberry impact. It mellows out, then it gives you that more watermelon, candied strawberry type thing, and then for me, that's when the kind of tart raspberry spreads out to the side of the palate. That's what I get.
Yeah, there's definitely an aftertaste that I mentally like neglect because of just how hard it like hits you. But for sure, like upon further interrogation, there is sort of like the balancing across the rest of the palate. I think you're right about that.
The thing is, this is the thing as well. When you do tastings with friends and stuff like this, you're very open to the power of suggestion as well.
It's subjective. Everybody's palate is different.
No, exactly.
So the average between what we're saying is probably something close to the truth.
Yeah, no, exactly. But personally, for me, I think I would stick to what I said before. That this is very much it is. If we're talking about the stylistic side of this, the only other thing I would add is that into the aftertaste you get that candied strawberry, you get the watermelon, the raspberries are very much there in the impact, but round the edge of the tongue, that's when you get the tart raspberry note lingering in this one. And obviously these flavours that we're talking about, strawberry and watermelon, these are placebo. They're not actually there isn't these flavours in the beer, unless they've added Strata or Barbe Rouge or some of these kind of hops to it. But these are all there for sure. But very much stylistically, this beer is a Berliner Weisse. It is very much Berliner Weisse.
Yeah, I would say it's lacking the, and lacking is a negative connotation. I don't want to suggest there's anything negative about this. It doesn't have the sort of, it doesn't have like the kind of like modulating body that a conventional sour would have. And I would also say the Berliner Weisse has like a more of like a thinness to it that I like.
Yeah,
and I think that's making me agree with you.
And I would wonder again with this I think generally speaking, the American palate is sweeter than the European palate is.
For sure.
And this is it is a sweet. For me, it has a bit of smoothie sour character to it. I can see that, but it's not quite a full smoothie sour.
Right, like the little chimay that we just had. There was another beer that we tried quite a like maybe 15 minutes ago with the pineapple and the guava. I mean, that's a proper smoothie beer. It's almost like a puree. This is definitely not puree.
But that is like a fruited pale ale, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So this kind of goes to show you the difference between the European and the American palate. So these kind of tastings are quite interesting. I think the last part of this review then should be the mouthfeel. For me, if I think about Berliner Weisse as a style, this is kind of pushing toward the top end of the spectrum. Oily. This is quite an oily beer, this for sure. Very smooth, slightly creamy. Little touch dry into the aftertaste. But quite juicy. The sourness, the impact of the sourness in this one mellows out really nice, and this beer becomes more sweet and yogurty and petit filou-like into the aftertaste, I would say.
It reminds me of... So I'm Russian by heritage. It reminds me of going into the Russian store at a young age and getting like those cartons of like the kind of the from concentrate, like it's called Mors, M-O-R-S, like a square carton of like very concentrated and tart fruit juices. So it hits me right in the memories with that.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. I need to try that sometime.
Yeah.
I love Russian history and things like that. Obviously, crazy stuff going on. We're not going to get into that in this video, but I like this. Really, for me, it reminds me of the yogurts my mum put in my lunchbox when I was a wee boy. It's really very much like that for me. Berliner Weisse, as I said, IBU wise, I think probably technically this is 0 IBUs, but you're still going to get 10 or something out of this from perceived bitterness. Malt base, bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, sweet on the top, and then obviously a lot of tartness and sweetness from the fruity side of things in this beer. For me, that's the mouthfeel of this. Beautiful beer, very nice beer.
Well done, thoughtful. Again, definitely hits me in the nostalgia, so maybe I'm extra partial to it for that reason, but it's fantastic. It tastes great.
And I think it goes to show you that sometimes my selection method works. I picked this literally because I love Police Academy.
He judges the book by its cover.
Yeah, and in craft beer it works sometimes.
Yeah.
So, this was the Tackleberry, a 6% sour ale, heavily fruited sour ale, with raspberries at 6% ABV. This was an American 1 pint can, which is 473 millilitres. I do love the smile on it. Look at that. He's happy as a dog with two dicks with that revolver.
Quick shout out to Tom Schmidt, who does the majority of the labels here at Twin Elephant. Good friend of mine. Not sure if he designed this one particularly, but he does about 80% of labels. So phenomenal digital artist, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of his. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Good to be back.
But big thank you to Dave for jumping in and doing this one with me.
Thanks for having me. Good time.
Yeah, it's been cool to do this with someone who's more into the wine these days. But that is the end of our time here at Twin Elephant. We'll go outside, I'll give you my final thoughts and things like that, and I'll catch you guys in just a second. There we go. Slàinte. Alright guys, so there is a fridge full of nice beer here. So they have Best in the Beersness, which is an American lager, 4.2% ABV. Gathering Clouds, which is an American IPA, 7.2% ABV. They've got the Tackleberry, which we've reviewed on this video, of course, or we will review on this video. We'll see about the ordering. But they've got the Quested, which is a West Coast IPA at 6.6% ABV. Then Chuck's Pils, a Pilsner, at 5% ABV. The True Believer, an American IPA, 7.1% ABV. Then they have, I'm not sure what these ones are. These are fruited sours and things. It doesn't say the name of the beer though. But then yeah, they've got the Nosh Strata, which was also reviewed on this video. The Nosh Belma as well. They've got a few like kind of crowler beers as well, which is quite interesting. And then yeah, they've got the Worker Drone, a cream ale at 5.4% ABV, and then the Megahertz, which I think, what is this one? This is an American IPA as well. So yeah, quite a few nice beers available in the fridge here at Twin Elephant. But the thing that's annoying for me is they only let you buy 4-packs in the States, which is just annoying. I want to do some single, sit-down reviews. So yeah, that's just how it goes in America. You only buy 4-packs, you can't get singles. But yeah, that's your fridge here at Twin Elephant Brewing Company in Chatham, New Jersey. Alright guys, well that is our time over then here at Twin Elephant Brewing Company in Chatham in New Jersey. So like I said at the beginning of this video, this is one of my friend Dave's favourite breweries in New Jersey, and I'm really glad that he managed to take me down here because we had a really nice couple of hours. So in total I spent $22.50, which translates to about 225 Swedish kroner, 22 euros 50, somewhere in the region like £20. And to try 3 beers and have a really nice couple of hours, I thought that was pretty reasonable, to be honest with you. So the 3 beers that we tried the American Blonde Ale, the Spindle, if I remember the name rightly. That was really nice, a style that I don't get to review all that often on the channel because you just don't find them in Europe very much. Then we had a little look at the Nosh Strata version. Apparently that's a recipe that they play around with quite a lot and add different hops to, but that was a really nice big milkshakey type New England double IPA, and that's a style that this brewery are really well known for. And then we finished off with a can of the Tackleberry, which I really enjoyed. I literally picked that beer because of the my love of Police Academy and my family's police background, and that one just really made me smile. But to try an American Blonde, a New England and a sour beer, I think that's quite a good reflection of what this brewery is quite well known for. But the guys behind the bar were really nice, really helpful with me asking questions and things like that. And yeah, I had a really nice couple of hours here at Twin Elephant. So certainly wouldn't hesitate to come back. When my next visit to this brewery will be, I honestly don't know. It would have been nice to try something a little bit darker from them, but it seems that this brewery don't do many beers in the realms of like stout and porter and stuff like this. But the beers I tried from them were very nice. Wouldn't hesitate to drink them again. And yeah, I can see why this brewery is pretty highly rated because all the beers I tried were pretty damn solid. So yeah, that is the end of our video here at Twin Elephant in Chatham in New Jersey, and we'll see about doing a few more New Jersey beer reviews for you over the next little while. But in the meantime, check out my social media, check out Twin Elephant's social media, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Slàinte, skål, cheers, come and visit Twin Elephant in Chatham in New Jersey if you do get the chance. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.